room was shrouded in an aura of secrecy, hidden deep within the labyrinthine corridors of a top-secret US Space Command complex. It was a space that few had the privilege to enter, a sanctum of technological marvels and intellectual prowess. As the heavy double doors swung open, revealing a world teeming with possibilities, one couldn't help but feel a sense of reverence and wonder. The walls, painted a pristine white, seemed to emit a faint luminescence, casting an ethereal glow on the metallic structures inside the room. The air hummed with a faint electric charge, hinting at the unfathomable power coursing through the network of wires that snaked beneath the polished floors. Scientists and engineers, cloaked in white lab coats adorned with insignias of their expertise, moved about with purpose and dedication, their eyes fixed on the monitors as if scanning the pathways to the stars themselves. Their fingers danced across glowing keyboards, deftly navigating through lines of code that seemed as complex as the constellations in the night sky. Whispers of voices filled the air, conversations that melded science and fiction into a harmonious symphony of innovation. Discussions of theoretical physics, cosmology, and artificial intelligence danced in the atmosphere, punctuated by the tapping of keyboards and the occasional buzzing of a printer transmitting the fruits of their labor. The room was alive with intellectual energy, a collective consciousness striving to unlock the mysteries of the universe. Despite this aura of science fiction and secrecy, an unwanted guest has managed to enter this room and discover the mysterious secrets it hides. A hacker remotely takes control of a PC and starts rummaging through the files inside, discovering a mysterious spreadsheet with names, surnames, and coordinates of personnel that we imagine would have caused astonishment. This list makes no reference to coordinates on the Earth. Everything in this document suggests that these people live and work in space. One wonders at this point if NASA is also involved in these affairs, and apparently there are numerous former employees over the decades who have spilled the beans about the mysterious secrets behind these futuristic structures. There are reports from researchers and scientists who claim to have seen video evidence and photographs of mysterious flying craft orbiting the Earth, futuristic designs for the times, almost alien in appearance. Obviously, the first thing to do in such cases is always to think with a skeptical and rational brain. Perhaps all the images seen are nothing more than state-of-the-art atmospheric probes, or even flaws in the lens of the camera that took the picture, but skepticism begins to give way to disbelief when one learns of a department that specializes in photo editing of images. Reports speak of mysterious satellites equipped with cannon-like armaments and cylindrical aircraft made of reflective material, all of which seem to reside in the servers of these agencies, hidden from the public and prying eyes. After all, it may not be surprising to discover connections between governments and extraterrestrial beings, especially when we consider agencies like the CIA. The Central Intelligence Agency was initially founded in 1947, and its purpose gradually diversified beyond intelligence gathering, eventually encompassing covert operations and the safeguarding of national security. The establishment of the Central Intelligence Agency proved pivotal in shaping America's foreign policy and its global role. Given its clandestine operations and involvement in foreign governments, the agency continues to be a topic of controversy. What happened or will happen to the people who reveal the truth to the world by talking to us and showing us these photos? They may be silenced by other government agents, or the government and these agencies may turn a blind eye. After all, a mysterious disappearance in these areas would just attract more attention. This story indicates that the photographs are likely only a small glimpse of a larger, covert reality hidden under the surface. The story we are about to delve into takes us beyond the Earth's atmosphere, into space, but not quite far enough to reach the stars. This is the story of the endless advancements in space technology are groundbreaking. I have observed their prototypes. Our space shuttles can hold over 250 people. Even today, the concept of launching 250 individuals into orbit with a shuttle simultaneously appears to be pure science fiction. Therefore, how was it feasible for there to be such detailed discussions of this possibility as early as 1985? In recent decades, mysterious sightings of secret military aerial objects have emerged from different corners of the globe, sparking widespread attention and intrigue. These sightings, often referred to as unidentified flying objects, UFOs, or unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, provoke the curiosity of not only the general public, but also researchers, military personnel, and government officials. This phenomenon poses a challenge to our comprehension of advanced technology, national security, and the possibility of extraterrestrial life. Before defining Solar Warden, it is necessary to examine the socio-political factors that contributed to its establishment. This chapter endeavours to scrutinise and evaluate the diverse reports of these mystifying sightings, analysing their implications, credibility, and any potential underlying veracities that they might contain. All the evidence analysed thus far suggests that there could be an avant-garde, human-made object still orbiting the Earth without our knowledge. Examining the contents of numerous historical documents permits the construction of a chronological record extending up to the present day. Upon analysing the ratio between the annual budget allocated to the Defence Department and its actual expenditures, it is evident that the so-called black budget experienced a significant increase during that particular period. The concept of the black budget entails government funds allocated for classified or covert operations, geared towards national security and intelligence activities. These funds are shrouded in secrecy, often undisclosed to both the public and Congress. The argument behind the confidentiality surrounding the black budget is that it allows governments to carry out their operations without public oversight and awareness. However, critics argue that this can result in abuses of power and lack of accountability. To comprehend the extent of this information, just consider that black projects, which are financed from a black budget, have no way to be tracked and could have limitless resources because accounting is untraceable and there is no Congress to discontinue funding. From a cynical perspective, one can guess why the military receives a lot of money. One explanation is that it conducts research and operations that require confidentiality for promoting peace or making certain advancements. Another possibility is that they have conducted senseless or weird research that would only harm the institution's respectability and image. The final option could be that it is just a means to line their pockets with more cash. The peak of the black projects is thought to have been reached between 1981 and 1989. Over the years, evidence has emerged of a secret aerospace program that has been developed by the US military for more than 50 years. During the tense Cold War period of the 1950s, the United States Air Force was keen to evaluate the military and industrial capabilities of the Soviet Union. In 1956, the US initiated covert operations, deploying spy planes to gather intelligence via aerial reconnaissance over the Soviet Union. They completed 24 missions before the project was ceased in 1960 after the downing of one of the spy planes. Prior to its termination, these 24 missions successfully obtained images that covered roughly 15% of the country. These images boasted a maximum resolution of 0.61 meters. The aim was then for spy satellites to bridge the gap in American espionage capabilities. In July 1957, a paper by the United States Air Force Wright Air Development Center suggested constructing a space station with telescopes, predating any human spaceflight. The years passed and the Cold War between the two superpowers continued. The US Air Force had a project called Manned Orbiting Laboratory, MOL, that worked in parallel with NASA's well-known Apollo and Mercury projects. This project was not revealed to the public until 1963 and grew out of the United States Air Force's early ideas of creating manned space stations to be used as reconnaissance satellites. MOL was intended to replace the military reconnaissance space plane that had been decommissioned shortly before. Clearly, the public relations were just a ploy to deceive people. Scientists and top-ranked generals involved in the project were not permitted to communicate with their families. In 1969, the program was publicly closed and subsequently cancelled. It has been rumoured that from the late 1970s till the early 1990s, an enigmatic prototype spacecraft sparked a significant amount of interest in the American aerospace community. Additionally, this remarkable form of transportation may be what the senior US government official observed. This aircraft is the product of American researchers' aspiration for a transportation method that accomplishes single stage to orbit. Single stage to orbit refers to a concept of spaceflight in which a spacecraft launches into orbit without discarding any parts of the vehicle during the launch process. It is a significant development in spaceflight technology with potential to increase efficiency and decrease costs in space exploration. Traditional rocket launches require multiple stages, with each stage discarded as it burns through its fuel supply. Single-stage to orbit vehicles are designed to be fully reusable, with the entire spacecraft returning to Earth intact for reuse. The prototype in question is estimated to have the following characteristics. Initially, a flat blade design was proposed. However, the model integrated the engine and the fuselage, resulting in the front portion of the fuselage being blade-shaped, creating a shock wave that compresses incoming air before reaching the engine. The rear fuselage served as an integrated nozzle, expanding exhaust. The engine design complemented the setup, resulting in a highly efficient and pioneering innovation. The aerodynamic configuration implemented a wave rider design and primarily relied on the compression lift generated by the fuselage. The fins, serving as trim and control, were comparatively small but functioned as wings. This setup was effective for high-speed flight, while takeoff, landing and low speeds may have posed challenges. The airframe was expected to encounter temperatures surpassing 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit over a considerable portion of its surface, while the leading edges and select areas of the engine were projected to sustain temperatures above 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. To address this concern, lightweight materials capable of enduring high temperatures had to be developed, including titanium and aluminium alloys. It is estimated that this aircraft is approximately 300 feet in length and has a maximum carrying capacity of 200,000 pounds, or around 90,700 kilograms, comparable to that of a medium-sized cruise ship. Around 1988, a mysterious sighting occurred at an oil rig in the North Sea. An unidentified aircraft docked with a Boeing Stratotanker while refueling in flight. The bizarre aircraft was escorted by a pair of military fighter jets, which were far more common. According to eyewitness accounts, the aircraft later achieved a speed above the speed of sound. The aircraft has a 75-degree swept triangular shape and operates as a lifting body aircraft, where its body creates lift. It can reach hypersonic speeds without the aid of traditional wings. It initially employs rocket propulsion, then transitions to a ramjet engine that intakes air at high speeds. Supporting these accounts are data collected by an air traffic controller who recorded the movement of an object flying at 3 times the speed of sound. It is likely the object was an aircraft funded by the black budget and kept secret. Triangular aircraft have increasingly been observed in various regions of the world over the years. As for the more recent sightings, it is thought that they may be more advanced and modern versions of the models seen in the 1990s. Technical information is the result of eyewitness speculation. A black triangular aircraft possesses state-of-the-art stealth features. Reportedly, it employs the magnetic field disruptor or gravity propulsion technology, which enables the aircraft to execute agile maneuvers and reach unprecedented speeds. Some sources suggest that it employs a mixture of traditional propulsion and anti-gravity technology to attain vertical takeoff and landing. The aircraft is generally said to be similar in size to a large fighter jet or bomber, with wingspan estimates ranging from 45 to 90 feet. Its distinct triangular shape is purported to have rounded corners and to be entirely black, contributing to a high level of stealth. Various theories suggest that the object possesses advanced radar and optical camouflage capabilities, which could render it hard to trace and monitor. Some reports even suggest that the vehicle is fitted with sophisticated sensor arrays, such as cutting-edge radar, infrared and electro-optical sensors that could increase its surveillance and reconnaissance capabilities. It is speculated that the entity possesses sophisticated armaments, potentially including undisclosed directed energy weapons or advanced conventional munitions. Another alleged top-secret aircraft that has reportedly flown through the skies of Earth is the so-called Flying Saucer of the United States Air Force. In 1967, this craft was first sighted in a military hangar. 4 different versions of the model existed, with the primary distinction being the disc diameter. The largest diameter measured up to 116 feet, approximately 35 meters, while the smallest diameter was only 20 feet, about 6 meters. The design of the aircraft was flat and disc-shaped, with a long vertical tail positioned behind the cockpit. Additionally, it had a landing system consisting of 3 wheels. The mission of these aircraft entailed monitoring the Soviet Union and its military facilities. They are believed to be responsible for the numerous UFO sightings that inundated science fiction magazines during that era. Consequently, photographs and videos depicting strange discs in the sky during that time period are verifiable. However, they do not constitute evidence of extraterrestrial technology and are instead attributed to terrestrial spying between clashing nations. In the 1980s, the British government gave the go-ahead for the establishment of an investigative office to discreetly investigate UAP sightings. One of the cases that attracted the most attention from this group of investigators was the story of an unidentified flying object that was spotted and photographed flying over a small town in Scotland. The story narrates that two men were standing on a remote hillside when they observed a strange light in the distance. When they turned their attention to it, they were astonished to discover a large diamond-shaped object hovering silently above the treetops. Most shocking of all, the unidentified aircraft appeared to be being pursued or escorted by a British military jet. The object was described as metallic and about the size of a helicopter. In awe of what they were seeing, the witnesses watched the object for several minutes, even taking a picture of it, before it abruptly sped away at tremendous speed, and then disappeared from sight. The event left the men baffled and shaken, as the remarkable sighting defied any conventional explanation. News of the UAP sighting spread quickly, attracting the attention of both UFO enthusiasts and skeptics. As word spread, various theories emerged to explain the phenomenon. Some speculated that the object could have been an experimental military aircraft or an advanced flying saucer of extraterrestrial origin. The sighting received significant media coverage, resulting in heightened public interest. Investigations were launched to gather more evidence and find possible explanations for the sighting. Researchers interviewed the men extensively, scrutinizing every detail, and the fact that the photograph they took seems to have mysteriously disappeared has also weighed against these accounts. Despite efforts to thoroughly investigate the sighting, no conclusive evidence or explanation has ever been found. The Scottish UAP sighting remains an intriguing, unsolved case, leaving room for speculation and debate among enthusiasts and skeptics alike. Over the years, this UAP sighting has become a notable and controversial incident in the realm of UFO phenomena. It serves as a reminder of the unexplained mysteries that continue to capture the human imagination and leave us pondering the possibility of encounters with intelligent beings beyond our understanding. What is the connection between this story and the Office of Investigation? Obviously, the testimonies of the Scottish UAP were analysed and investigated by these investigators, and it also seems that the infamous missing photo is not only on display in this building, but after analysis it resulted that it is 100% photoshopped. However, the mystery deepens as attempts are made to locate the two men who first testified, whose identities are mysteriously protected and kept under strict secrecy until 2076. If the entire story of the sighting was a fabrication, what would be the point of keeping the identities of the two witnesses secret? Especially considering, in the vast majority of cases, the first and last names of the witnesses are public record. On the morning of November the 11th, 1991, two extremely loud sonic booms were heard all over the west coast of America. It is thought that they may have been generated by two high-flying classified aircraft during their re-entry into Nevada. The shock waves generated by superfast airplanes or space shuttles trigger seismographs, resulting in an airquake. This phenomenon had been observed several times before, and by analysing the shock waves, scientists can determine the speed and altitude of the aircraft. According to recorded data, the aircraft was travelling at a higher altitude than normal airliners. To grasp the magnitude of this altitude, picture ourselves flying at an incredible height between the troposphere and stratosphere. At this altitude, the frigid temperature plummets to -60 degrees Celsius. From this point, we can see the Earth's curved shape and the mesmerizing blue glow emitted by the atmosphere. Just below us is a magnificent expanse of clouds, serving as our lofty platform. We can assume that the plane reached this height towards the end of its flight, as these enigmatic aircraft are believed to fly at even greater altitudes. Needless to say, both NASA and all other organizations involved were quick to deny the presence of such fast aircraft in American skies during that morning. These stealth flights at incredible speeds are thought to be nothing more than reconnaissance and data collection rounds on the various countries in the world that have nuclear arsenals, so as to monitor them in great secrecy. Studies about the shape of these supersonic planes are kept confidential, but it is believed that they may be a combination of two aircraft. The first serves as the mothership. It is larger, slower, and better equipped. The second is like a parasitic aircraft launched from the main one, and it is this second one that travels at impressive speeds. The launching mechanism for the smaller aircraft remains uncertain, but speculation suggests that it may have been an appendage device that was either placed on top of the mothership or inside it. In the case the parasitic aircraft is located inside the main one, it is assumed that the mechanism consists of nothing more than a hatch opening and the aircraft undocking, thus dropping to when it is already at a considerable height. It can also be assumed that such aircraft could be equipped with offensive systems. The spaceplane would be released from the parent aircraft at an assumed altitude of at least 100,000 feet, approximately 30 kilometers high, in the upper region of the stratosphere, which is about 20 kilometers higher than typical commercial airliners. These data are merely estimates, based solely on unverifiable testimony from former project members and researchers. Some even argue that the altitude to which these space planes can ascend may surpass 300 miles, equivalent to approximately 480 kilometers, depending on the mission. While all this may sound like pure science fiction, it is important to note that the Cold War with the Soviet Union prompted the United States to establish a strategic defense program, a futuristic project that appears to provide additional support for the conjectures and witnesses presented thus far. The SD was a proposed defense project launched by the United States in the 1980s. The aim of the initiative was to establish a complex and extensive missile defense system capable of intercepting and destroying incoming enemy ballistic missiles and nuclear attacks prior to them reaching their intended targets, thus safeguarding the United States and its allies. The initiative was motivated by mounting concerns over the Soviet Union's increasing nuclear capabilities and the potential weakness of the United States' current defense mechanisms. The missile defense system proposal included ground-based interceptor missiles, space-based platforms, advanced sensors, and command and control centers. Its goal was to establish a network capable of detecting, tracking, and intercepting incoming missiles at different phases of their flight trajectory. One of the project's most contentious issues was the idea of a missile defense system based in space. This involved deploying satellites equipped with advanced sensors and directed energy weapons in orbit around the Earth, which could identify missile launches, track them, and then employ an array of technologies such as lasers and particle beams to disable or destroy the detected missiles. The strategic significance of deploying defense systems in space lies in their capacity to establish a broad field of vision, covering vast areas of the Earth. The proposed satellite constellations can monitor potential threats from multiple angles and provide early warning. The space-based nature of the system also circumvents the typical limitations of ground-based defenses, such as geographic constraints or interception capacity. The program encountered major technical and engineering obstacles. Creating and implementing such a complex and advanced defense system needed breakthroughs in emerging technologies such as directed energy weapons, advanced sensors, high-performance computing, and the miniaturization of components. The initiative's potential implications exceeded its defensive scope. Domestic and international critics expressed concerns that the program could trigger a space arms race, as other nations could feel compelled to establish their own space-based defense systems to balance out American capabilities. The initiative garnered criticism for redirecting resources from other crucial defense needs and potentially undermining current arms control agreements between the United States and the Soviet Union. Considering the US's established history of exploiting scientific discoveries and prioritizing personal gain since the beginning of the space race, it is implausible to consider the notion of Project Solar Warden as a mere fabrication concocted by a few schemers. Often, when discussing such theories, a commonly raised criticism is, if this theory is true, why have no witnesses come forward? And where is the evidence? This is a rare case where over time increasing evidence and witness accounts have emerged, contradicting the initial lack of supporting evidence. However, the Solar Warden story is more intricate than simply identifying the sighting of enigmatic aircraft or hacking the Army's computers. Achieving accurate information requires patience and the study of the historical conflict between the United States and Russia. The United States and the Soviet Union have begun diplomatic talks after years of tense relations. A high-level summit between the leaders of the two superpowers occurred in Geneva, Switzerland. Its objective was to address ongoing tensions from the Cold War era and improve relations between the two nations. Just 1 year before this event, the United States and the Soviet Union initiated discussions aimed at reducing each other's nuclear weapons. However, just a few months later, the USSR withheld its participation in the Los Angeles Olympics in retaliation for the US boycott of the 1980 Moscow Olympics. The situation escalates when the American president discloses his intentions to deploy a fleet of satellites with the capability of intercepting and neutralizing any threat directed towards the United States and its allies. Russia was facing a rather tumultuous time in politics due to the sudden death of its leader. Needless to say, after a short time, this turmoil ceased with the arrival of a new leader. As the new leader, he is focused on revitalizing both the Soviet economic and political systems. The conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union intensified on September 1st, 1985, when two Soviet military aircraft intercepted and shot down an airliner, resulting in the deaths of 269 civilians, including a US congressman. The Soviet Union claimed that the airliner was flying over its territories without permission, thus justifying their actions. This set of occurrences led to the Geneva summit, which could be a pivotal moment in the tumultuous relationship between the two nations. This summit aimed to discuss arms control and mitigate the looming nuclear threat worldwide. Both leaders acknowledged the peril posed by the nuclear arsenals of their respective countries and the catastrophic consequences they could have. Consequently, they endeavored to identify common ground and establish a framework for future arms control negotiations. This summit took place for 2 days, on November the 19th and 20th, 1985, at a mansion located on the shores of Lake Geneva. The venue was chosen for its neutrality, ensuring no potential advantage for either party. During the meetings, the leaders discussed a broad spectrum of issues. They considered decreasing nuclear arsenals, imposing restrictions on nuclear tests, and promoting transparency in military operations. The leaders recognized that a nuclear conflict would be catastrophic for humanity and emphasized the pressing requirement for disarmament. According to sources, the two leaders held a private meeting to discuss a matter of great importance and confidentiality. They paused negotiations and other meetings to walk together near the courtyard of the mansion, accompanied solely by their interpreters. The President of the United States asked the Soviet leader how they would respond if the United States were attacked by extraterrestrial beings. The inquiry was made without any camouflage or ambiguity, and the President wanted to know if the Soviet Union would provide assistance if such an event occurred. The Soviet leader pledged his support, the two exchanged handshakes and resumed their meetings and negotiations. However, the summit did not lead to any formal agreements or treaties. It served primarily as a platform for dialogue and laying the groundwork for future negotiations. Despite differences in their political systems and ideologies, the two leaders built a cordial relationship and developed a mutual understanding and respect. The reception of the Geneva summit was mixed. While some saw it as progress towards diffusing Cold War tensions, others remained doubtful of the leaders' intentions. Still, the summit fostered a climate of cautious hope and renewed belief in peaceful coexistence between the United States and the Soviet Union. The 1985 Geneva summit was a significant event in Cold War history. It established a foundation for future discussions and negotiations, ultimately resulting in the signing of crucial arms control agreements, including the 1987 Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. The summit initiated a new era in Soviet-American relations, as the USSR leaders' reform initiatives contributed to the conclusion of the Cold War and the collapse of the Soviet Union. But the question arises, why did the US President ask such a specific question at such a crucial time in the negotiations? Perhaps, as the President of the United States, he had access to confidential information, unavailable to the public. Since the 1969 moon landing, conversations have emerged between astronauts and scientists, suggesting the possibility of extraterrestrial presence not only in our solar system, but also on the moon. During the discussion, details were scant and much information was withheld. However, it appears that the astronauts were alerted to a potential extraterrestrial presence on or near the satellite's surface. According to the documents, their spacecraft were considerably larger and more advanced than ours. At this point, it is natural to ask, what if the United States and the Soviet Union had actually joined forces to defend planet Earth? The Satellite Defense and Espionage Project was in its early stages. With Soviet economic and scientific funds combined in secrecy, technology was advancing rapidly. It was possible that the superpowers could launch space stations with personnel and defense devices to control their surroundings. It could be assumed that the technology required for this remarkable feat did not necessitate creation from scratch, but rather might have been derived from a decommissioned Air Force program. Among the aircraft previously described, the single-stage-to-orbit prototype is undoubtedly the one most closely associated with Project Solar Warden. It is an impressive means of transportation capable of carrying a large crew. So far, the factual narrative is clear. However, it is important to investigate the origins of the term Solar Warden, the individuals or groups responsible for its dissemination, and whether or not it can be deemed a credible source. When was Solar Warden first made public? In 2006, an anonymous post surfaced on a forum for UFO enthusiasts and amateur astronomers. Orbiting the Earth would be a space fleet called Solar Warden. This fleet includes 8 cargo-like spacecraft over 600 feet long and more than 40 smaller exploration craft defined as protectors. The author asserts that during that period, one of the aforementioned exploration craft was destroyed while attempting to deliver supplies to a Mars colony. The purported colony on Mars was reportedly founded through joint efforts of the US and the USSR. The blog post explains that humans have explored all planets in the solar system, with the exception of Mercury. As of the time of writing, we have even reached the distant Pluto, which is approximately 5.05 billion kilometers away from Earth. Each of the fleet's motherships included a crew comprising the finest astronauts and researchers from all participating nations: America, the United Kingdom, Canada, Italy, Austria, Russia, and Australia. According to the original post's author, the utilized technology is believed to have resulted from reverse engineering of extraterrestrial spacecraft. It is theorized that any airborne entities would likely owe accountability to an Earth-based establishment, potentially the Naval Space Command. The Explorer spacecraft will be ordered to intercept extraterrestrial intruder ships. Additionally, Earth's space bases will extend beyond the Red Planet to include the Moon. Only later was it speculated that the information the hacker retrieved from those computers provided additional proof of the existence of Solar Warden. Approximately 6 years elapsed between the forum post and the hacker's account. The post presents a plethora of information that is difficult to believe, but let us analyze it systematically. As discussed previously, we explored the concept of cargo spaceships that can accommodate hundreds of individuals, alongside the so-called space planes. The possibility of these transportation systems increases in plausibility when we consider the substantial investment made by each participating nation and the strength of their alliance. The imposing nature of these vehicles raises many questions. How could they have not been spotted during takeoff? Where do their fuel and food supplies come from? All of these doubts are valid and useful for identifying unlikely sighting incidents. However, to address these concerns, we must consider that there are numerous secret and highly classified bases located throughout the world. If a rocket were launched from the South Pole and the most influential and prosperous nations on Earth agreed to keep it a secret, the truth may never be revealed, even after a century. Consider Russia, one of the nations involved in Solar Warden, with its area of 17,100,000 square kilometers and a small population in proportion. As a result, a significant portion of the territory is uninhabited due to inhospitable frigid steppes and mountains, rendering it a prime location for conducting research activities and constructing bases in complete secrecy. Thus, it is reasonable to infer that the personnel who work at these launch and research facilities are carefully chosen and reside in nearby small towns that are specifically built for this purpose. These facilities have the potential to be situated anywhere in the world. But what about the supplies? As previously stated, specialized aircraft will be utilized for travel between space and Earth. These aircraft are designed to evade radar detection and withstand extreme temperatures. If there were indeed a fleet of over 40 aircraft, it is plausible to suggest that they could make round trips between Earth and the mothership to transport fuel and supplies. Solar power is likely to be used as the power source for the larger aircraft, similar to the case with the International Space Station and other satellites. Unless, of course, there was actual contact between Earth scientists and alien technology, and they subsequently discovered an alternative form of fuel through reverse engineering. A few years after the post on the ufology forum, photos and videos from amateur astrophotographers began to circulate on the web. They attempted small tests and experiments to obtain images of the starry sky and satellites as rich in detail as possible. Obviously, it is particularly difficult to succeed in this endeavor especially if one lacks professional means, which would require a monstrously large budget. Enthusiasts from around the world framed and focused on subjects such as the International Space Station and a few transmitting satellites. The story began to unfold as images of strange silhouettes in the sky and on the moon began to circulate. At first, it was thought that it might be a problem with the camera lens or a defect in the telescope. Later, it was hypothesized that it could be a distortion of light on the lunar surface, a simple optical illusion caused by the absence of atmosphere on the satellite. Despite this initial skepticism, everything seemed inexplicable. What appeared to us from Earth as stars and shine as such seemed to actually be spaceships, or at least space platforms, covered with a reflective material. Their silhouettes would also be eerily similar to those of the black-budget funded spacecraft. Each of these objects appears to be armed, or at least equipped with defensive capabilities, as each UAP sighted appears to be equipped with cannon-like modules. On the lunar surface, however, there appear to be dome-shaped structures and silhouettes resembling radio towers, and occasionally it appears that small, moving UAVs have approached the satellite, but due to poor video quality, we cannot confirm this. But if these sources of this information are reliable, how come the government or some undercover agent has not bought their silence, or made both them and the evidence disappear? One can speculate that it is probably easier for the government and the organizations involved to let this small niche of people speak and then discredit them. We live in a constantly moving world where it is very difficult to be heard, so a mysterious death or disappearance of an individual with possible evidence of the existence of a conspiracy would certainly make more of a splash than anything else. After all, the US has never shied away from these dirty jobs. On more than one occasion, agents within the CIA have infiltrated gatherings of people and communities to spread fake news, shine a spotlight on those people, and discredit them in the eyes of the media. In addition, a very common intimidating element in these cases are the so-called Men in Black. Who are they? Government-employed individuals dressed in black suits are tasked with the responsibility of stopping people who have witnessed UFOs or gained knowledge of classified and highly secretive information from sharing their encounters. On numerous occasions, UFO researchers and enthusiasts have come across enigmatic figures known as Men in Black. This has been a recurring phenomenon throughout history. These individuals employ various tactics such as interviews, investigations, harassment, intimidation, and even possible harm to ensure the information remains concealed. Over time, increasing numbers of people have revealed their involvement in the Solar Warden project. This includes children whose childhoods were taken by scientists spending their formative years in space bases and research centers on the Moon and Mars. Additionally, selected soldiers allege having been rejuvenated in order to continue serving the Earth in space. Some reports describe battles that took place on Mars, and others tell of extraterrestrial beings who are amicable to humans and members of a space federation. Adding fuel to the fire is the belief that something significant is occurring or has occurred in the vicinity of Groom Lake, Nevada. Groom Lake is another name for the Nevada Test Site 51 facilities, which are more typically referred to as Area 51. Groom Lake could potentially be a hub for extraterrestrial activity and advanced flying saucer technology. Some even argue that crashed UFOs are stored and studied at Area 51, and that there is an ongoing collaboration between the US government and aliens. Here, the government is allowed to reverse engineer extraterrestrial technology. Scientists and engineers dissect and analyze crashed alien spacecraft to understand their advanced technology and integrate it into military projects. After all, Area 51 has long been associated with secret military aircraft development. At this point, it appears clear that the facility is responsible for developing and testing cutting-edge aircraft, including stealth technology. Classified experiments were and are conducted at Groom Lake. Obviously, we cannot be sure what it is all about, but we can speculate that it probably involves the creation of advanced weapons or technology that may be used for mass surveillance. Some even say that in Area 51, scientists have conducted mind control experiments and genetic engineering. It is no secret that the government during the Cold War was constantly looking for ways to improve its spies, even going so far as to study psychics and the human mind. Thus, the desire to create super soldiers would not seem to be a new concept. Some witnesses also claim that the surface structures at Area 51 are just a cover for vast underground installations used for secret projects and operations. Senior figures within companies partnering with the military have often been subject to alleged information leaks and exchanges of mysterious messages. These companies are alleged to have provided materials and helped build top-secret, black-budget funded aircraft. Unfortunately, the information available to the public is limited and of questionable origin. Each project had a minimum confidentiality period of 10 years. This means that if a project is disclosed to the public today, it is highly likely that it has been in development for at least a decade. This is standard practice in the industry. For major projects, the period of secrecy can be extended to 20 years to ensure complete security for research and development. As a result, agencies may have to maintain confidentiality on projects that are 20 years old or older. It is possible that many futuristic concepts have already been developed and are in use, even if they seem far-fetched to us. It is conceivable that the archives of these agencies contain designs that resemble those seen in science fiction films more than military aircraft. It would not be incorrect to speculate at this point that there may be two distinct categories of UFOs: those created by humans and those of extraterrestrial origin. Who knows what incredible technological advances are to be found in the top-secret bases in Nevada or scattered around the world. Technologies 50 or 60 years ahead, capable even of going beyond the current understanding of an ordinary citizen. It is apparent that a classified operation of some sort is underway in the vicinity of Groom Lake. Former military pilots claim to have seen mysterious aircraft with advanced technology, providing additional evidence to support these theories. It cannot be ruled out that they were referring to black-budget prototypes or alien aircraft. The people allegedly involved claim to have witnessed extraordinary advancements in technology that surpassed the limits of human imagination. Additionally, some of them have even had direct encounters with beings whose characteristics did not align with the typical human form. These remarkable events occurred within the same location where these highly advanced innovations were being tested. Undeniably, the origin of these beings can only be attributed as extraterrestrial. If indeed our skies are being traversed by alien aircraft, it is reasonable to presume that such activity may be restricted to traffic managed by the Solar Warden fleet. What external threats have prompted such significant investment of time and resources into the development of this confidential project? Some individuals speculate that ancient civilizations may have had contact with or been infiltrated by extraterrestrial beings. These individuals suggest that such beings could have influenced the construction of colossal structures, such as the Egyptian pyramids or Mayan temples. However, no scientific evidence exists to support these claims. It is much more likely that the first contact with extraterrestrial civilization in recent history was at Roswell. The 1947 Roswell incident involved the alleged crash of an unidentified flying object in New Mexico. The initial reports stated that the US military had recovered a flying disc, but this claim was later retracted, with officials stating that it was a weather balloon. The incident sparked widespread attention and led to various conspiracy theories suggesting a cover-up of an extraterrestrial spacecraft crash. Over the years, the incident in Roswell has been highly debated. Some researchers claim that the crash was caused by a UFO carrying extraterrestrial life and advanced technology, and that the government intentionally covered up evidence and testimony to hide the truth from the public. From this initial encounter, it may be feasible to decipher sophisticated extraterrestrial technology and gain insights into the nature of life in the universe. Perhaps the extraterrestrial beings observed in the Roswell incident were peaceful visitors who came to Earth solely for research purposes. On the evening of the incident, the military allegedly retrieved 5 bodies from the debris. The bodies were humanoid, with slim builds, grey hues, oversized heads, and large, pitch-black eyes. It is probable that the alien ship was a satellite ship reporting to a mothership in space, and that the only surviving captive extraterrestrial negotiated a trade with his captors through an unknown form of communication. The military would have received access to his advanced technological knowledge, while he would be granted the freedom to contact his species and return home. The description of this extraterrestrial being aligns seamlessly with our contemporary understanding of the grey alien archetype. However, in reference to the Solar Warden project, it seems that greys are not the only alien species involved. Supposedly, there are multiple species with distinct characteristics, one of which is named Avians. In 1962, a business person reported a harrowing experience with a group of hostile avian creatures. The incident took place on an isolated stretch of road in France, where the witness's car was not only blocked but allegedly assaulted by these bird-like entities. The witness, in their 50s with a sturdy build, was driving through a poorly lit and stormy area in Var, depending on their headlights for visibility. As the driver approached a curve in the road, he became aware of an assemblage of unusual creatures congregating approximately 80 meters ahead. In an effort to circumvent a collision, the driver decelerated, which caused the group to abruptly divide into 2 sections. Curiosity piqued, the driver proceeded to lower the car window, leaning out slightly in order to obtain a clearer view. It was at this moment that the driver witnessed peculiar animal forms, with avian-like heads and feathered bodies, flinging themselves towards the vehicle from both sides. The driver quickly rolled up the car window, accelerated and stopped about 150 meters away, and observed bizarre creatures vigorously flapping their wings towards a shining dark blue object hovering above a field on the opposite side of the road. This object resembled 2 plates set against each other. As the birds approached the UAP, they were seemingly pulled into the underside of the object, as if they were caught in a whirlwind. Shortly after, the witness heard a muffled sound, and the object quickly departed at an astonishingly fast speed, disappearing from view. Initially, this alien group was frightening, but they will not harm humans and are now part of our Federation of Allies. But if there's a federation, it's even more reason to have a shared adversary that's as threatening to humans as it is to other life forms. This enemy has compelled many forms of life to team up and cooperate to survive. But who could this enemy be? No definitive answer exists regarding this matter, as it remains uncertain whether multiple alien species exist or if there is just one exceedingly influential species. However, many ufologists concur that among the potential adversaries to life on Earth, there is a race of aliens known as reptoids, or reptilians. These creatures are often portrayed as humanoids, but they are taller than human beings and possess reptile-like features such as scaly skin, lizard-like eyes, and tails. Some theories suggest that these creatures are capable of shape-shifting to appear human. If this information were accurate, it is possible that they have infiltrated the human population on Earth and held political roles among world leaders at various times throughout modern history. They are believed to possess highly advanced technology, surpassing our capabilities. This technology supposedly allows them to manipulate the population in order to keep their existence hidden. With supposed cosmic knowledge, they may harbour undisclosed intentions on Earth and potentially influence global affairs. It is also believed that reptilians possess advanced intellect and exceptional expertise beyond our own. According to some, this parasitic species requires human blood to survive. Reports also suggest that reptilians operate covertly from concealed underground bases scattered throughout the world. Solar Warden likely serves as a segment of an operation targeting the defense of humanity on a large scale. It would involve spacecraft monitoring traffic and access to our solar system, while individuals on Earth oversee the handling of unwanted visitors. It is possible that the 40 spacecraft in our space fleet are utilized for exploration and reconnaissance throughout the solar system. It follows that the moon bases may have an extraterrestrial connection, possibly linked to a federation that assists in our survival. Some theories suggest that certain structures or anomalies are visible in moon photographs taken by various space missions. These include unconventional shapes, possibly artificial structures. The debate over the structures of the moon continues, as studies conducted on its surface suggest that it may be a hollow satellite, or at least have extensive cave systems and hollow spaces. Some ufologists even argue that the moon is not a natural celestial body, but instead an alien-made construct devised by advanced extraterrestrial beings. Proponents of this theory postulate that the moon was placed in Earth's orbit for particular motives, including monitoring human activity or serving as a base for extraterrestrial visitors. If these claims were true, it appears that governments and space agencies, including NASA, possess knowledge of the moon's actual nature, but deliberately withhold this information from the public. Over the years, research missions to understand the mysteries behind our satellite have intensified considerably. However, the information made public is insufficient to determine the absolute truth about what is on the dark side of the moon. These research missions are thought to have been conducted with satellites equipped with photographic equipment, but it is possible that black budget-funded military aircraft may have been involved. Leaked reports suggest the existence of alien bases on the moon. The bases are equipped with antennas and sonar to facilitate their activities. Surprisingly, the alien beings observed on the moon exhibit sensitivity to psychic phenomena, signifying a profound spiritual connection to the universe and its constituents. Furthermore, they bear a striking resemblance to humans. Among the various alien species cited, one in particular would fit this description: Pleiadians, commonly known as Nordic, a humanoid species from the Pleiades star cluster. The characteristics ascribed to Nordic aliens can vary, but here are some of the more common descriptions associated with this species. They are typically described as tall, slender, and physically similar to humans. They are said to have blonde hair, blue or green eyes, and fair complexions. Compared to humans, they appear to be in possession of an extremely high intelligence, with a brain so advanced that they communicate via telepathy. They are described as peaceful and benevolent beings who have a desire to assist humanity. Some theorists claim that they are here to guide humanity towards spiritual enlightenment. Unfortunately, however, there is a further possibility that this may be just an espionage and population control operation. No alien monsters and no galactic federation, just the government making a deal in great secrecy with its enemies to spy on our lives and manipulate us better. Who knows how many spy satellites are currently circling over our heads, and who knows how much of our most sensitive information is being stolen without our knowledge. Governments can manipulate us, give our useful data to the social network algorithms in order to make us watch certain contents rather than others, forcibly inculcating ideas through silent propaganda that deludes us into thinking we have free will, when in fact we are all equal sacks of meat. If this tale has taught us anything, it is indisputably the truth that we cannot fully rely on all the information we read, particularly when it comes to trusting the government's actions. While we are here discussing this, out there in the world there are wars and environmental disasters caused by the very governments that give us a roof over our heads and claim to defend us and our rights. The danger to humanity is probably not coming from outer space, but from somebody sitting in a comfortable leather chair in an office somewhere, protected by armies that are willing to destroy entire nations to keep from falling. We will probably never know the truth about Solar Warden or the hundreds of other mysterious government-funded and secret projects, but that is the point. It does not matter. Anyone in power knows that there is no weaker enemy than a divided one. Armies of the most important nations in ancient history have fallen precisely because they divided themselves and allowed the enemy to attack them. This is something that has been known since the beginning of time. It doesn't matter if you are on the right or the left, the government is one. The parties only serve to give you the illusion that there is democracy and that your vote matters, but the truth is that everyone in power will always act for just one purpose: to enrich themselves. Perhaps the reptilians discussed earlier are a powerful metaphor for this, manipulative and slimy creatures who hold prestigious roles and only care about feeding on humans. Let us meditate on whether it is better to believe that there is a secret fleet of human spacecraft among the stars, intercepting and stopping alien threats that undermine our preservation, or whether it is better to believe that Solar Warden is nothing more than an advanced method of spying on and controlling us outside of Earth's laws and borders. The next time you look at the night sky, remember that in our galaxy alone there are about 300 billion stars, including at least 5 billion solar systems similar to ours. Perhaps not all of them have a planet suitable for the development of organic organisms placed at the right distance from its sun. It is therefore calculated that of these 5 billion solar systems, at least 10 million could have these characteristics, and among these 10 million, at least 1,000 could have seen the development of a bacterial life form, which, in the worst case scenario, on at least 50 planets, could have evolved into multicellular life forms and intelligent organisms. From this, it has been calculated that in the worst case, the possibility that technologically advanced civilizations and alien multicellular organisms exist in our galaxy is equivalent to about 0.1%. This doesn't seem much, but if multiplied by the approximately 500 billion galaxies that are estimated to exist, it becomes, in the most pessimistic hypothesis, 50,000. 50,000 technologically advanced civilizations currently exist in the universe. The next time you look at the night sky, observing the celestial bodies, remember that they could be looking back at you too.